In this video, I'm going to show you how to place the hood hinge on this Toyota Tacoma. Let's get started. The mounting hardware for the hood hinge where it mounts onto the body of the vehicle is tucked underneath the fender, so we actually do have to at least pull the fender away, if not remove it completely, for this job. Having said that, let's start up top and remove some of the hardware that holds the fender on. We have to remove the corner light so that we can get the fender released from it. There's a bracket that holds it on, and you want to remove this Phillips head screw that holds this part on. Set that aside. To pop this out, you should be able to just pry it forward. Now you may or may not need the help of a trim tool to do this. All right, so there's the corner light. I'm going to unplug the electrical connector on the back side just so we can free it up and get it out of our way. This is the bracket that it was holding onto, and because it's tied to this, it's not allowing it to move much. From the top, we have several 10mm bolts that we have to remove. One is right here behind the headlight. Looking behind the hood bump stop here, there's another one. Once you take this one out, you can also remove this. And all the way in the back by the hood hinge, there's one last one up top. If you open the door, you'll see a 10mm bolt right here. You can either get it with an extension and a thin socket through here, or just stick a wrench in between the door and the A-pillar and remove it that way. There we go. Top of the fender should be loose now. If your truck has these mud flaps, you're going to have to remove them just because the fasteners go in through the fender, but as well as through the body here, so this will hold us up. And at the bottom, you'll see two 10mm fasteners. Both have to be removed. There we go. The fender should be loose now over here. I'm going to remove just one of these clips to start with. To do that, you need a trim tool. Stick it behind here. Hopefully yours are still in good condition, because a lot of times these get really, really dry from just being out in the elements for a long time, and then they break. But you should be able to remove them by prying in those two tabs on each side, and this should give us quite more space here on the fender. Now with the door open, that should give you enough space to pull this fender up and away just slightly so you can get access to those two bolts. If you wanted to completely pull the fender off, there's a couple more fasteners behind the front bumper, but that requires removing the front bumper, and that's a whole lot more work than just doing this. Having said that, at this point, you want to make sure the hood is held in place. I recommend having a second person, because as soon as you unbolt this one hinge, this entire side is going to want to swing forward or backwards. You definitely don't want it to either get stuck in here or go into the windshield and smash the windshield. I'm going to break free the two bolts that are on the hood first. They're 12mm in size. Not removing them, just breaking them free. Now that these are ready to come out, let's remove the two bottom ones. With an extension, you should be able to get to them, also 12mm in size. Hold the hood. There we go. Finish removing the top bolts. And there's your hood hinge. Now, if you had your new hood hinge, slide it back in here. Be careful of any pinch points, of course. Start one of the bolts back in. Take the other top bolt and put it through. These top bolts will have a ridge to them in there, whereas the bottom ones are completely flat. That ridge will allow you to line up the hood hinge. And I can see the marks on the hood from where the old one was, so I'm going to line it up with that. Tighten this up. Make sure that's snug. At most 1/8 of a turn after it bottoms out. Get the lower bolts started. Once they're lined up, tighten them up. Just like with the tops, give these at most 1/8 of a turn after they bottom out. Nice and tight. Get the fender lined up again, and since we're here, we might as well put in the top bolts and tighten them up. All the bolts at this point are going to be exactly the same, so Doesn't matter which one goes where. Tighten these up at most an eighth of a turn. After they bottom out, just get them nice and snug. On this one, you're gonna have to put the little hood bump stop on as well. Snug that up. And one bolt in the front here. Resecure the bolt that goes on the A-pillar. Snug it up. At the bottom, let's resecure the fender with the two 10mm headed bolts. Line it all up. And tighten these up. Hold the fender pushed in if needed, just to get everything to line up properly. About a eighth to a quarter turn after it bottoms out. Even pressure on both. Let's get this clip back in. And if you had mud flaps, go ahead and put this one back on. Tightening these, you have to be careful because they're going into plastic, and if you over tighten it, it'll strip out the plastic. Just give it a snug. Let's get the corner light plugged back in. And now line up the tabs, slide the corner light in. Reinstall the Phillips head screw at the top. This will lock it in. Just snug it. It's going into the plastic housing of the headlight, so don't over tighten it. It will strip it out. Now you want to make sure the fender lines up everywhere. Since we unbolted it as well as the hood, when you shut the hood, everything needs to be perfectly lined up. That looks good to me. All the body lines are perfect. They match from side to side, so we're good to go.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.